So for my topic for persuasive, I decided to persuade you guys that bowling is a sport. Most people that I know where I come from say bowling isn't a sport because you do it as a leisure activity, you do it for fun. Also, they said if you can drink beer and be drunk while bowling, then it can't be a sport because you can't do that with all the other sports. So time and effort is my first reason to persuade you guys into thinking bowling is a sport. Professionals spend a lot of time on lanes to manage their lane play and stuff, just to keep practice and stuff. They also put it into workouts and working on their mental game. Also, young kids, high school athletes, and collegiate athletes also put a lot of time and effort in to making their games complete so they can move on to the next level and hopefully one day reach a professional career. Lane time and practice. Professionals go to lanes every day to work on their game, make sure everything is still in working order, and make sure they don't have any minor defects with their game. So if they do, they can correct it. A lot of their time is spent working on spares because you can't always strike. They spend about 2 to 5 hours depending on if they're preparing for a tournament or not. 5 hours normally if they're preparing for a tournament, and 2 hours if they're just going to practice on the off season. Also, young children, high school athletes, and college athletes spend a lot of time on the lanes. High school athletes and collegiate athletes spend time during practice, normally 2-hour practices, and they will go outside of practice as well to practice. Young children are in leagues, and they will go outside to practice as well. And normally high school athletes and collegiate athletes participate in leagues as well. Physical game. The physical game is very important to bowling because you need to have a strong base when you get on the lanes and always make sure your mechanics are proper. Professionals work on their physical game most every time they're at the lanes for practice, and young children are being taught the physical game, so when they get older they don't have as much to work on. They can just keep fine-tuning it, and college and high school athletes are always working on it, so when they get the opportunity to go to the next level, they can. Mental game. The mental game is very important. Pros have very strong mental games, and so do collegiate athletes. Your mental game is 90% of your game in bowling. Just like other sports, you have to have a strong basis for your mental game so you don't lose your cool and lose your focus, so you don't bowl bad, play bad. Also, Dr. Dean Hintz is the man that has quoted in his book that 90% of your game is mental. Reading patterns. Reading patterns is very monumental for the game. Just like other sports, they watch film on themselves to know what they did wrong, how they can fix their game. And that reading patterns also comes into watching film because they watch other bowlers bowl in the similar patterns that we'll be bowling on in similar lanes to see how the lane plays, what the topography is, and see how their game can work into it. Also, when you're given patterns, you're given the board layout and how much volume of oil is put on the lanes, depending on the volume, high or low, depends on how your ball will react. And then how much misroom you have. Sometimes you'll have 1-to-1, 1-to-2, just depends on. The less, like 1-to-1 means you have no misroom, means you have to be perfect. And the higher it goes, the more misroom you have. Normally, normal house shot has a high amount of misroom. And in collegiate patterns and pro patterns, they will have less misroom. Normally, some of them come up as 1-to-1. To conclude, all the things I stated is what makes bowling a sport. Bowling is a very difficult sport to understand and participate in because not everything will always go your way, and you can't change it by physical action because the more you want to push to do it, it will change the way you bowl and stuff, and it'll sometimes go for the worse. And sometimes you just have to calm down and get yourself settled. And I think bowling is a very strenuous sport where you have to always be ready for change, and that is why I think bowling is a sport.